MX vs. ATV Legends released on June 28, 2022, almost exactly 3 years ago at the time of doing this video. Usually MX vs. ATV gives us a new game every 2 to 4 years, so you would have to assume that there has been discussions, maybe some work already, I don't know. I don't have any insider information for you, but you would have to assume at the minimum they probably have been talking about a new MX versus ATV game. Maybe they've already been working on it. And I want to know, have the new physics for a new MX versus ATV game been shown to us already? You might be wondering what exactly I'm talking about. Maybe you already know. But yeah, that's what I want to go over today. Have the new physics for a new MX versus ATV game been shown to us, and do we like them, or how do we feel about them? So let's just jump into it and get to the discussion. So what are we talking about here? Have the new physics for the next MX vs. ATV game been shown to us? Have you already tried them? What I mean by that is we recently just had a really big update to the game for Season 4 that introduced new pro experimental physics on this new Element bike. It is a 450. Everybody has access to it. It doesn't matter if you're on PC or if you're on console. Everybody has the chance to test this bike out and try the new physics and then give feedback. Rainbow Studios has been very vocal about saying they have a direction they want to go with the physics, but that we know, and they've said they want the opinions of the players. They want the opinions of their community and the players that they have playing their game. So give your feedback. I'm curious to see how you guys feel about it. We'll get to that a little bit later. But it seems weird to me because this game came out almost exactly 3 years ago. We know MX vs. ATV typically will release a new game every 2 to 4 years. I don't believe we will necessarily be getting a new game next year, but you'd have to assume that discussions have been had about a new MX vs. ATV game. And maybe they've already even been working on it. No, I don't have any insider information, but with these new physics, it just seems really weird to me that they would implement a completely new set of physics, more simulation, or leaning more towards simulation, when the game has already been out for 3 years. They've been adjusting and tweaking on the physics, just the regular physics in the game. It's weird that they wanted to go this route at this stage with MX vs. ATV Legends, and maybe it's because they plan on supporting Legends for years yet, and maybe we don't get a new MX vs. ATV game anytime soon. I would hope that isn't the case. While I do love Legends, I mean, I like new MX vs. ATV games. So, yeah, that's one thing, and one reason why I wanted to do the video is because I personally believe that these physics were here, or put here in the game, to have the players test them. And it was a good way for Rainbow Studios to adjust on them and get the player feedback, and then put these physics in a place that the players are happy with and like, because then they can implement them, maybe not the exact same physics, but then they can implement them into a new MX vs. ATV game, something very similar, and not have to start from a complete scratch. So, if they got these physics into a place that would rival reflex handling, I'm sure people would be really happy with it, and it'd be really cool to see them in a completely new game. The only downside to that, and I know if the physics are good and fun, it isn't really a downside, but every MX versus ATV game has been different, has felt different. Unleashed felt different from Untamed. Untamed felt way different from Reflex. Reflex felt way different from Alive. Alive felt way different from Supercross Encore. So I'm kind of counting those games as the same game because it basically was. But Alive felt way different from Supercross and Supercross Encore. Supercross Encore felt way different from All Out. And All Out felt less different, but more different. Or how do I want to say that? Less different than the rest of the games had been, but still quite different from MX vs. ATV Legends here. So, yeah, I enjoy the new, different feeling and testing out the physics and all the newness in the game. And if the physics are basically going to be these pro experimental physics, then that takes away a bunch of the newness to the game. But again, if the physics get to a point that 100% of the player base loves them and feels like they're the best physics ever made, then of course it would make sense for Rainbow Studios to use those new physics or variation of those physics in a new MX versus ATV game. I was just kind of voicing, kind of thinking out loud is basically what I'm doing with this video. So, that's my opinion on the new pro physics. I really do personally believe that these physics are meant to be developed by the community over the next year, maybe 2 years, whatever, and then they can get them to a place, hopefully, that players like it and then put them in a new game. Or maybe not. Maybe they never get them to a place that the majority of the player base enjoys it and they scrap the idea and then do something completely different. But I do feel like the physics were geared towards a new MX versus ATV in mind. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong. That's just my opinion. Now, also about the physics, I have had a little bit more time to test them out. I do feel like they could be really good with some adjustments, but after playing the game for quite a bit of time one way, switching to a completely different way to play with these pro physics is kind of tough for me. But I'm warming up to the idea that these physics actually could be pretty good with the right adjustments done to them. The biggest difference I always felt like was in the air, but actually maybe it's on the ground. In the air, it's quite a bit different. I would say the physics just feel even more free than they already did. MX vs. ATV has always had free physics, but they feel even more free. On the ground, the biggest difference is that the bike reacts and turns slower, but also the clutch. The clutch is completely different. We talked about it. You don't get that instant boost anymore. And so picking and choosing the lines you take around the track is a bit different, and trying to recover from a mistake is much more difficult just because you don't have that instant boost anymore. So, yes, I do believe with feedback from the community and Rainbow Studios doing their own development with these physics, they could be done right. They could be done in a really good way, and they could be really fun, and could be fun in a new MX versus ATV game. But I don't think they're quite there yet. I think the way the bike handles on the ground could be done a little bit better. I need to play with it more to get a better, have better feedback for them. In the air, I'm mostly happy with it in the air for the most part, but again, I need more time. I had one big session for this video with the new physics, so by no means am I a pro. Also, I don't know if we're going to ever have tuning for the bike, because if we get tuning, obviously that would affect the way the bike would handle and work, and maybe that would be able to clean up some of the stuff that I'm not completely happy with the new physics. But generally speaking, most of the people I've seen talking about it are pretty happy with them. So I think Rainbow Studios has done a really good job in where they've started at, the base setting for these physics before they even do any adjustment to them. So I'm really happy, really excited to see where these physics go. Now, I want to know your guys' opinion. Do you believe that these new pro experimental physics are just for MX vs. ATV Legends, or do you think it's with a new MX vs. ATV game in mind, and they're just testing the physics and trying to perfect them before they stick them in a new game? Do you think that? I'd be really curious to see, because I definitely don't believe, that I'm right. I think it's just an opinion. It's just speculation, because it seems weird after the game's been out for 3 years that they would give us a new set of physics. I've already said that a bunch, but curious to see how you guys feel about it. And also, I'm really curious to see how you guys feel about the new experimental physics. And now that the patch has been out for a while and you've had time to test it, hopefully you've tried it, because like I said, everybody, whether you're on console or PC, everybody has access to these new physics. How do you feel about the physics? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you like them for the most part, but you feel like they need to be adjusted a bunch? Have you given feedback? What was your feedback? And would you like to see MX versus ATV? Because if they do use this type of physics in a new MX versus ATV game, you'd have to assume MX versus ATV is leaning more towards the simcade side. They want to get more simulation mixed into the arcade side. I believe that MX versus ATV will always have some arcade to it, but you would have to assume that if it is testing physics for a new game, MX vs. ATV wants to see a little bit more simulation in their game. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. I would be very curious to see. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.